Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Live at 4.
It's Friday. We're excited.
As you can hear, Michael Bruno is here. Well, he's along with a backstage look at Sweeney Todd. There they are.
There they are.
That's the brutal barber of Fleet Street right there. Lots going on today, so let's get to it. Florence is now a tropical storm, but so far has claimed 4 lives. The powerful storm continues to drench the Carolina coast after making landfall this morning near Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina.
It's going to be a long weekend in the Carolinas. Reconstruction of 2 bridges will officially start Monday. A pair of new assistance programs were announced today to help home and business owners recover from the historic flooding. And investigators are trying to figure out why a car crashed into a home near Cottage Grove. Fire and rescue officials say the family's fortunate to have survived. Let's take a look outside on this Friday afternoon. Summer is hanging on in Madison.
Not going anywhere. This is a muskrat early this morning on Monona Bay. Mark Schilling, nice shot.
That's a great shot.
Beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful. As the sun was coming up, I can't get over how warm it is, though.
I know, and humid. It's the weather words for today. Something or another. I don't know. Hot and warm and dry. Let's just watch this.
Here they come.
High and dry. Are we waiting for that? All right. Dave Caulfield is in the backyard. But we're going to get to Dave in just a minute. But first at 4, Florence, now a tropical storm, is battering the Carolinas after coming ashore this morning as a Category 1 hurricane. The massive, slow-moving storm is expected to dump between 1 and 3 feet of rain on the area over the next few days. These are live pictures from Nags Head, North Carolina. The storm is being blamed for at least 4 deaths, including a mother and an infant in North Carolina who died when a tree fell on their home. Courtney Zabowski has the latest from Wilmington.
Florence brought widespread flooding to the Carolinas after making landfall as a Category 1 hurricane, packing sustained winds of 90 miles an hour. The torrential rain is expected to stick around for days.
This is only the beginning. Florence is a very slow mover.
In New Bern, North Carolina, streets look like rivers as rescue crews work to pull trapped people from their homes. Officials say the storm surge has reached up to 10 feet in some areas. They are asking those who did not evacuate to stay off the roads.
Please stay sheltered in place. Do not go out in this storm.
But some North Carolina residents did not heed the warning.
I don't think it's really as bad as they think. Hazel in 1954 was worse than this.
Here in Wilmington, North Carolina, storm surge is coming over roads and pushing into homes. Some of those homes still occupied. Barbara Diab came to check on her home. What are your thoughts after seeing this?
I'm a little worried that maybe at least the garage area. I think we'll be okay up. It's 3 stories. I think we'll be up okay up in the living area. But it looks like probably we're going to be having a lot of dock damage and probably water in our garages.
The storm knocked out power to hundreds of thousands of customers, and that number is expected to rise.
Courtney Zabowski for WISC News 3.
The National Hurricane Center expects Florence to move into the mid-Atlantic states and New England as a tropical depression by the middle of next week.
Now let's head out to the backyard where Dave Caulfield is tracking this hurricane. Dave, what's the latest?
Yeah, so now down to a tropical storm is Florence, but really that's just semantics at this point because we've already gotten reports from some portions of North Carolina where almost 20 inches of rain has fallen already with this. So even though the winds may be a little bit less in some spots, the rain is far from it. And that torrential heavy rain is going to stick around for the next couple of days. Still a tropical storm into early Sunday morning as it traverses South Carolina, then takes that hook up towards the northeast and into New England. Still could be a bit of a tropical depression by the time we get to early next week. So a lot of that tropical moisture being pulled off of the Atlantic Ocean. So that rain is far from over, and that flooding threat could last for days and even weeks in some spots across the southeast. We know about flooding lasting for weeks across southern Wisconsin. No rain right now, which is good news, and I think this weekend will stay high and dry across much of the state of Wisconsin, including southern Wisconsin as well. Live look in Platteville on the Queen Bee Radio Skycam showing some puffy cumulus clouds, but they're fair weather clouds, and it's because of a little bit of humidity in the air. Not going to cause any rain or thunderstorms anytime soon. Temperatures right now in the mid-80s, even some upper 80s closer to Boscobel, so could feel like the 90s in some spots with dew points in the mid to upper 60s. That's about 5 to 10 degrees more humid compared to this time yesterday. Wind speeds not too bad today out of the south. We'll call it about 5 to 10 miles per hour. A live look in Madison on the WISC-TV Skycam showing mostly sunny skies, but a few fair weather clouds as well. For Friday night football, temperatures falling through the 70s into the 60s with mostly clear skies. Pretty comfortable, but a little bit on the humid side in spots, but nothing that we can't handle. Now let's take a look at your first alert traffic update. A little bit slow go in both directions at Todd Drive and the Beltline, as you might expect. It's a Friday on the Beltline after all. There we go. No major accidents or incidents to report across Dane County, but we still do have those flood-related closures to worry about. The Beltline from west to east, starting to see some slowdowns closer to Seminole Highway and Fish Hatchery Road into the John Nolan Drive area, but the Interstate and Stoughton Road not looking too backed up at the present time. Verona Road to John Nolan eastbound 11 minutes with an average speed of around 25 miles per hour. And some other routes in and around Madison, the Beltline to Janesville, that's 27 minutes with an average speed of around 65 miles per hour. And that is your first alert traffic update. We'll have another look at Florence, plus talk about your Friday night football and Badgers forecast coming up in your first alert forecast in just a few minutes.
Busy time in the weather office.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, Dave, we'll see you in a few minutes.
Thank you, Dave. Reconstruction of 2 Dane County bridges will officially start Monday following the approval of nearly $3 million in emergency funding. Governor Walker approved a $2.8 million contract today. The bridges on Highway 14, which are used to access Black Earth, were destroyed by flooding in August. Construction is set to finish in mid-November.
However, we really encourage people to patronize Black Earth during this difficult time. Access is open to Black Earth using Highway 78 and local roads.
The lead contractor on the project, Kramer North America, was at the site today assessing plans.
Several neighborhoods north of Boston are still smoldering today after a series of gas explosions destroyed homes and left one person dead. Thousands of residents were forced from their homes after a series of gas explosions, and fires rocked 3 communities and destroyed as many as 80 structures. 18-year-old Lionel Rondon died when a chimney crashed on top of his SUV. Authorities blame the fire on gas lines that became overpressurized. The company shut off service to the area and plans to inspect 8,600 affected customers as a safety precaution.
Former Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort entered a guilty plea to 2 felonies. Manafort now admits to charges of conspiring against the United States and obstruction of justice. The maximum sentence for the 2 charges is 10 years. As part of the deal, Manafort has now agreed to cooperate with special counsel Robert Mueller as part of his investigation into possible collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia.
He wanted to make sure that his family was able to remain safe and live a good life. He's accepted responsibility, and this is for conduct that dates back many years.
The White House says Manafort's guilty plea is unrelated to any of the work he did for the Trump campaign, and they insist President Trump himself has done nothing wrong. Deputies in Columbia County are investigating what they're calling a spike in overdose deaths over the Labor Day weekend.
The sheriff's office there counts 4 deaths in just a 6-day period. Our Amanda Quintana is in the news center with the details. Amanda?
Yes, well, because of those scary statistics, 4 deaths in just 6 days, the county has been actively working to address the opioid epidemic. The sheriff's office is also seeing an increase in overdose calls and crimes attributed to addiction, so they're hoping drug courts and a medication-assisted treatment program can help stop this trend. On Wednesday, the county's Health and Human Services Board approved new proposals for more resources to keep those efforts going, but they're still seeing a shortage of providers, including social workers, psychiatrists, and people to help addicts detox.
Getting them involved with seeing mental health and substance abuse providers, and again, we've got a shortage there too. And then in medication-assisted treatment too.
The program received a one-year $350,000 state grant to pay for staff to help people stay on track and for medication that can help curb cravings. These grants will extend some of the work that they are already doing right now, but law enforcement officers we talked with say this is going to take a community-wide effort to address this very serious problem.
Amanda Quintana in the newsroom. Amanda, thanks.
The Associate Chancellor at UW-Whitewater has been stripped of his title and banned from campus amid sexual harassment allegations. UW system investigated allegations that Pete Hill harassed female employees going back to 2015. The Whitewater Chancellor says the allegations against Hill have merit. Now here's the twist of this story. The Chancellor, Beverly Copper, is married to Hill. Investigators are trying to figure out why a car crashed into a home near Cottage Grove this morning.
4 people were in the home at the time, but all of them made it out safely. Josh Spreiter is here tonight with more on this incredible story, Josh.
Incredible story it is, Mark and Susan. Fire and rescue officials say the family is very fortunate tonight. Just take a look at this video of this home near Cottage Grove. Around 6:15 this morning, investigators say an SUV veered off of County Highway TT, went through a cornfield before crashing into the living room of the 2-story home. While the family is now left gathering what remains of their belongings, Charles Arthur says he's counting their blessings.
You think it wouldn't happen to you, but it's just one of those things. I was more worried about having a house fire.
We're told the driver of the SUV was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, and due to the significant damage, an inspector deemed the home unsafe. And after seeing that damage, officials couldn't believe the family made it out okay. Get this, Mark and Susan. One of the kids was on the living room couch just moments before it happened. Investigators still don't know what caused the driver to go off of the road. Pretty crazy story.
House is destroyed.
House is destroyed.
Unbelievable.
We'll have more on their story coming up at 5.
We'll see you then. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Josh. It is a Broadway smash that hits the stage at the Middleton Performing Arts Center this weekend.
It's Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street, and our Michael Bruno goes backstage with the Middleton Players Theater when Live at 4 continues. Welcome back. It's the end of the line for the Volkswagen Beetle.
The German car maker will stop building the Beetle next year at a factory in Mexico, the last plant in the world to make the bug-shaped car. The original VW Beetle was created in 1938 on Adolf Hitler's orders. He wanted a cheap, reliable car. The curvy-topped sedan went on to become one of the biggest-selling foreign-made cars in the U.S. In the 60s, it was very popular with hippies, and it went through many design changes over the years. The loss of the classic car after 3 generations has a lot of Beetle lovers heartbroken.
Losing the Beetle in production makes me feel like I lose a little bit of myself.
VW sold more than 15,000 Beetle models in the U.S. last year, down more than 3%. Experts say sales are slowing as more and more consumers turn toward SUVs.
On Wall Street, stocks were pretty much flat amid new trade worries. The Dow Industrials added just 8 points, ending the week at 26,154. The NASDAQ Composite Index lost 3.5 that is, and the S&P 500 was up fractionally. Well, Sweeney Todd is a fictional character who first appeared as a villain of the Victorian Penny Dreadful series, The String of Pearls.
The tale has been retold many times since then, most notably in the Tony Award-winning Broadway musical by Stephen Sondheim and Hugh Wheeler. The show comes to Middleton this weekend, and our Michael Bruno goes backstage of Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street.
Attend the tale of Sweeney Todd. His skin was pale and his eye was odd. He shaved the faces of gentlemen who never thereafter were heard of again.
Talk a little bit about the music of Sondheim with this. It's so operatic.
I actually was reading about this. I read Sondheim's book, Finishing the Hat, his notes on Sweeney Todd, and he said that the show is, there's a lot of argument about, is it an opera, is it a musical, what kind of music is this? And he said, actually, it's a movie for the stage. And what he said was he was inspired by an old movie, an old horror film where there was just this constant, amazing underscoring. He said, I wanted to write something that, a musical, a stage production that gave us that constant underscoring. So what that does for you as an actor is it gives you so much, even in just the scenes when you're not actually singing, it gives you so much to work off of.
I mean, I think what I've always appreciated the most about Sweeney Todd is that he's sort of the first anti-hero. I look at a lot of what's happened in sort of arts and in theater and all of the sort of dark, dramatic characters, and this is somebody that is plotting murder and horrible, horrible revenge, but you have to find a way to identify with him. And I think that the only way that I've really come to terms with that is that the music is so beautiful and so longing and so passionate that I feel like the audience just has to go along with it no matter what.
Toby is a barker for a street barber, essentially, who's selling a miracle elixir to grow back hair. And it is my character's job to sell that product. Later, through a turn of events, I end up inside of Mrs. Lovett's pie shop, helping her out with the pies.
And what is it about the character that makes her so endearing? Because she's so awful.
She's hilarious. I mean, really, you know, that's the biggest challenge, I think, with her is finding the humor. And there's a lot of it written, but there's little moments, and there are a lot of times when she's sort of sitting reacting and sort of finding the humor in her in those moments and figuring out how she can live in such a dark and terrible place and want to do such dark and terrible things and still have such a sunny attitude.
What happened then? Well, that's the play, and he wouldn't want us to give it away. Not Sweeney.
Not Sweeney Todd, the demon barber of Fleet Street.
That is a great piece.
It's a wonderful show.
And what a wonderful group.
Oh, the voices in this is amazing. I mean, it's some of Madison's and Madison area's finest singers in this show. It's really, really astonishing.
Is it opera-like music?
It's very, very close to being an operetta. I mean, the music is really, really wonderful.
A lot of opera companies do stage it.
So it must be very challenging
It's
vocally.
incredibly vocally challenging for them. It's really amazing. And it's so great to have the orchestra on stage with them.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a concert version. And the music is so beautiful. And after watching the orchestra playing and having the actors actually, right next to the orchestra is kind of fascinating for them.
It is the Middleton Players Theater, Sweeney Todd. It is tonight and tomorrow at 7:30, Sunday at 4 p.m. at the Middleton Performing Arts Center.
Yes.
Go to brownpapertickets.com for more information. We got a gift from a viewer, Trevor Russell.
Trevor Russell.
Trevor Russell.
Sent pictures. I left mine on my desk, but he sent one to everyone. There's Mark. And he colored one for Bruno, too.
Go over here, Bruno, and look, it's a birthday cake.
It's my birthday candle. My birthday's Tuesday. Thank you, Trevor.
That's very sweet.
Everybody in the newsroom got it.
Everybody loved them, too.
Absolutely. All right, next week.
Next week, it's the Southern Baptist Sissies at Stage Q.
I'm off that. I'm sorry, we're going to miss. I'll have to tune in.
Oh, you will tune in. Yes,
I will.
I'll see you Friday.
Thank you, Michael. Have a good weekend. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
You can
Take a look at this. Residents in Madrid did a double take today when they were taken by surprise as a spotted whale seemed to be beached, a sperm whale in the middle of the Segovia River, but the whole thing was fake. The real, hyper-real looking statue, complete with workers trying to keep it wet, is part of an art installation by the Belgian artist collective Captain Boomer. According to the collective's website, the installation entitled Whale is a gigantic metaphor for the disruption of our ecological system.
What a great title.
Just whale.
Well, thank goodness. That concerned me there for quite a moment.
You think that'd be, take a look at this, a giant sperm whale in the middle of this country?
Sure. Today is Friday, September 14th. It is National Quiet Day.
It's also National Hug Your Boss Day.
And finally, oh, did you?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wait a minute.
I'm sorry, I jumped the gun. I just want to talk about.
Did you hug? Oh, there we go.
Hi, guys.
All right.
That's fantastic.
Did you hug Gary? He's your boss.
I haven't hugged Gary yet. I don't know if he's up for it.
You got plenty of time.
Yeah, there's a lot of time left on today. And finally, it's Hoagie Day. That's why I was jumping the gun. I just want to talk about hoagies, the submarine sandwich. Originally originated around the Philadelphia area. I know where I'm from, it's a big to-do. Do you call it a sub? Do you call it a hoagie?
Well, what makes it a hoagie?
The location of where you are.
Yeah,
it has nothing to do with the sandwich. Yeah,
really?
around Philly, it's a hoagie. Around New York, it's a sub. So.
Around here, it's a sub.
Yeah, exactly.
And around here, this is sort of
it's
a
roast
sub.
beef. I see some cheese in there. That looks pretty good.
Yeah, it just needs a little, some condiments.
Yes.
All right, maybe our boss can supply that.
Well, did you hug him?
I will. For some mayo, I will.
Okay.
So what's in store this weekend?
Well, we have another nice weekend in store. A little bit on the warm side, a little bit on the humid side, but summer is coming to an end, so we'll enjoy this late summer weather before fall starts next week. We'll talk about rain chances returning to the forecast in just a few minutes. Good afternoon. I hope everyone is having a fantastic Friday outside. For southern Wisconsin, another dry day, but the furthest thing from that across portions of the Carolinas. Check out this 24-hour precipitation estimate as Florence is now onshore, now down to a tropical storm, mind you, but that doesn't really matter when it comes to this rain. Look at this, widespread reports of over 10 inches of rain so far in the last 24 hours, and we've even seen some radar estimates of more than 15 inches of rain. I was doing some checking during the break about observed rainfall totals, and the National Weather Service in Morehead City has picked up over 19 inches of rain, almost 20 inches of rain in just the last 24 to 36 hours. So Tropical Storm Florence now with max winds at 70 miles per hour. But here's the problem, folks. Look at that movement west at only 3 miles per hour. So this is crawling right now. And while it is crawling, it's bringing that tropical moisture off of the Atlantic Ocean and really fueling more of those showers and storms and those torrential downpours that will be affecting the area for the next day to couple of days. In fact, as the forecast of Florence begins to hook up into New England and well into Halifax by the time we get to Tuesday and Wednesday. So weather track here is Florence as it continues to slowly spin along the coasts of North and South Carolina. We actually have a pretty active Atlantic, as we've been talking about. Isaac down here is now a tropical depression, and twin tropical storms Joyce and Helene, they won't affect the U.S., but very active time, as we've talked about before, in the tropics. Not so active across much of the rest of the United States. We do have some Gulf moisture moving into Texas, but for us, we've actually been pretty quiet over the last week to week and a half, and that's going to continue into this weekend. Doppler track, nothing really to see across much of the Midwest, and that includes southern Wisconsin. We are quiet on radar. Downtown Madison on the Edgewater Skycam, looking at a few fair weather cumulus clouds. The almanac for today, 84 the high. Normal is 73, so about 10 degrees above normal. Still nowhere near the record, though, of 96. Calm wind with a dew point in the mid-60s, so being a little bit humid outside, but still pretty comfortable as we head into later tonight. That humidity goes down just a little bit, and kickoff temperatures in the mid-70s. Temperatures right now are in the mid to upper 80s, even close to 90 in Boscobel. It actually feels like the 90s for southwestern Wisconsin when you factor in dew points in the mid to upper 60s. Wind speed's not a major factor for today. And speaking of temperatures and current conditions, we'll see those conditions stay pretty warm over the next couple of days, but then we're bouncing from the 80s into the 70s, upper 70s, low 70s. So we kind of go on a bit of a roller coaster ride into next week with rain chances coming back into the forecast. Your Badgers forecast, the kickoff tomorrow at Camp Randall at 2:30 p.m. Wisconsin facing the Cougars of BYU. Temperatures at kickoff right around 82 degrees by the fifth quarter. We're in the upper 70s, a little bit on the humid side and partly sunny and warm. Tonight, we're not that warm, but temperature is still in the upper 50s. Tomorrow, partly sunny. Highs will be in the low 80s. So future track showing things in the 60s as we head into later tonight. We'll actually start off in the upper 50s on Saturday. No rain to worry about over the next couple of days, just a few clouds here and there, but I think those rain showers stay away until we get to later on Monday. That's when the future track hopefully will pop up with our data. We've been having a little bit of trouble with this, but I do think Tuesday, Wednesday, and into the middle of next week is when we can expect some rain showers. But right now, those precipitation potential totals, not anything to get overly concerned about. So hopefully it stays like that. Your 7-day forecast showing temperatures dipping from the 80s into the 70s, really all over the place when we have that front that is nearby during the middle of next week, bringing us our first rain chances in quite some time. Wednesday and Thursday look to be the best days to get those rain chances. Then Friday, showers gradually ending for the first day of fall, not the first full day of fall. I do think will be dry with temperatures near 70.
And there's another Florence in the news today.
Is there?
My mother is 95 years old today.
Happy birthday. That's so awesome.
So 2 Florences.
Yes.
What's her secret?
I don't know. Well, I'll find out tomorrow. We're having a gathering tomorrow.
Oh, that's wonderful.
All right, Dave, thank you. Well, there's more to come at 4. Are you headed to the movies this weekend?
When we come back, The Predator is back. We'll have a preview of this latest entry in the series when Live at 4 continues. That's a...
Dun, 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 dun.
I was just going to say, oh, that's so pretty, but then our producer said, this looks ominous.
Yes, get out of the way.
It's a great day, though, to be on a kayak
really
on the lake. Lake is nice and calm on a Friday afternoon. More than 30 years after the original invaded theaters, The Predator is back.
It is the latest movie in the franchise about violent hunters from space invading the Earth. David Daniel has a look.
I'm in acquisitions. I look up and I catch what falls out of the sky.
The hunt is on again in The Predator. It's the latest sequel spawned from the 1987 original starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. Jacob Tremblay plays a young boy who accidentally activates some previously left behind Predator technology, bringing the spacefaring hunters back to Earth.
Predators just don't sit around making hats out of rib cages. They conquered space.
Sterling K. Brown leads the fight against the aliens with a group of soldiers and a biologist played by Olivia Munn, who learns the Predators are up to something.
I think they're attempting hybridization. They're upgrading on every planet they visit.
I think you know what is on the ship. The ultimate predators.
In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Predator opens today, and Will be here on Monday to tell us what he thinks about it.
Still to come at 4, he's the voice of God on the Stephen Colbert Show.
You might also recognize him from sketches on Conan O'Brien. UW grad Brian Stack is back in Madison and on Live at 4, and that is next.
Good afternoon. Here is your Friday First Alert traffic update. A little bit of slow go in both directions on the Beltline and Todd Drive. So traffic is definitely backing up a little bit. We could see across Dane County, no major accidents or incidents to report. Remember, we still do have those flooded roadways on the Isthmus. Seminole Highway, not looking too bad westbound, but eastbound looking pretty slow. Similar story on Fish Hatch. But both sides of the Beltline are looking a little bit slow closer to Park Street, and those delays go through Rimrock Road and John Nolan Drive. Starting to see maybe a little bit better in the way of traffic speeds closer to West Broadway and also Monona Drive and Stoughton Road. Things are looking pretty good right now. Your drive times are on the road to John Nolan. That's 17 minutes with an average speed of around 15 miles per hour. And that is your First Alert traffic update.
Well, the Late Show will not be outstormed. So here from our award-winning standing outside team is Brian Stack. Brian, how is it going out there, my man?
Oh, it's really bad, Steven. It's cold, very windy, with sharp ice crystals being hurled by the wind into my face.
That sounds really bad.
Yeah, it is bad, Steven. Can I please come back in?
Not yet, Brian. We need you out there to tell us how bad the weather is.
Can't you just look out the window?
No windows in the studio.
Very appropriate today with the
Yes,
hurricane going on. If you're a fan of late night TV, you've probably seen our next guest.
He has written, produced, and in this case appeared in some hilarious sketches for Conan O'Brien and The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Brian Stack worked for Conan O'Brien for 18 years and joined the Colbert production team in 2015. He's based in New York, but Brian is a Badger at heart.
Brian earned his graduate degree at UW-Madison, and this is where his career in comedy began. It all comes full circle because Brian is back in Madison this evening for an event with the UW Alumni Association. Welcome back to Madison.
Welcome back to Madison.
Great to see you.
Thank you. It's great to be back. I always love to get back to Madison for any reason, and thanks for having me.
Let's start at the beginning with your comedy career. You first went on stage here in Madison.
Yeah, there was a little theater called the Arc. Improv theater.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it was on Bassett Street, right around the bend there. It's a laundromat now, unfortunately, but it's had other incarnations since then. But the theater we worked in was right on Bassett Street there, and yeah, I'll always be grateful to Madison. It's very much associated in my mind and heart with getting started, and I'll always love it here.
And so those were your dreams, to be a stand-up comedian? Is that what you wanted to do?
You know, I had always I never would have ever had the guts to do stand-up comedy, like where you're up there by yourself with a microphone, but I love doing ensemble improv stuff, and that's what we did at the Arc, where you'd work in a group and get audience suggestions. And the late great Chris Farley was in my very first group at the Arc, and it was so exciting when he went off to Chicago a year before I did. Chicago's my hometown anyway, but when I got back, he is already on kind of a lightning track and deserved to be. Everybody could tell he was very special, even in the early days.
Yeah. So you landed at the Conan O'Brien show as a writer and on-screen character.
Yeah.
For 17 years?
Yeah, almost 18 actually. It's kind of crazy, yeah. And it was supposed to be 13 weeks. It turned into 18 years.
How did you get that gig?
How do you do that?
Well, it was kind of weird. I was working at Second City at the time in '97, and one of the other writers at Conan broke his leg really badly, and they wanted to bring someone out to fill in for like 13 weeks. And I sent in some ideas, and they were nice enough they thought they were good enough to have me come out for that fill-in spot. And then, luckily, they liked the stuff I was doing, and I ended up staying on a bit longer.
Wow.
But it was a wonderful place to work, and I love working with Stephen, too. So it's been kind of I've been lucky to work with both those guys.
So how and why did you make the transition to go with Stephen Colbert?
Well, we've been feeling kind of a family pull back to New York, where my daughters were born, and I'd always wanted to work with Stephen in some ways. He'd always been a hero of mine going back to the Chicago days when he was in the cast with Steve Carell and Amy Sedaris, and I was in the touring company when they were in the resident company at Second City, so they were kind of the cool kids to us, you know, even though Stephen's only a few months older. But I always looked up to them, and so I'd always hoped to work with them at some point, and I was just thrilled to get the chance to work with them on the new show.
And it's a lot of political stuff, and that's sort of new for you, isn't it?
It is a bit. At Conan, the way we dealt with politics tended to be a little more in a silly, glancing kind of more cartoonish way. Not that that's a negative, but yeah, it's a bit more topical. It's a lot more ripped from the headlines. And then I don't think anyone saw the current stuff coming when Stephen took over the show. So there's been a lot of, it's kind of new surprises every day, as you know.
And what is the day? You go in the morning, you sit down with the writers, what happens?
Yeah, we go in the morning and go over ideas, and then they kind of get pulled together into the monologue, and we're usually doing the rewrite right up until showtime. And Steven's as involved as a writer as he is as the host. He's really the final word on the writing and everything. He's integrally involved in everything, pretty much.
So do you pitch sketches that you can act in, or do you primarily do writing for the show?
I primarily do writing, but then I'm grateful to our cold open team. They often ask me to do stuff at the top of the show, and I'll kick around ideas with them for that. But a lot of times I won't even see the script until they ask me to do it, and they'll say, "Hey, Brian, can you be a snobby trucker?" And I'll be like, "Sure."
The voice of God?
Yeah,
the devil.
I do the God in the Dome. He's an animated puppet god, and they have me in the voiceover booth with this new technology that can map. When my mouth moves, God's mouth moves.
Wow.
So.
And you're not the only Badger on the team. A couple other guys.
Yeah, Gabe Gronley and Aaron Cohen were both Wisconsin. They're both at Wisconsin alums, and they had been interns of ours at Conan, kind of a small world, and love working with those guys. They're brilliant writers, and Aaron's one of the producers there now, and great guys and really talented.
Dream job?
It really has been a wonderful place to. I never expected to make a living in comedy, that's for sure. So I'm grateful and very lucky.
And you like being on camera?
I do. I think I'd miss I love the writing side too, but I think I'd miss it if I didn't get to do any performing. You know, it's always kind of fun to put on a silly wig or hat.
Well, it's very inspiring for current Badgers to see Badgers like yourself in positions like this.
Well, thank you.
I mean, it shows that dreams can come true, you know?
Well, thank you. I always got so much inspiration from people I loved watching growing up, and it's always gratifying when people get any inspiration from what we do, and so I'm grateful to just be able to be part of the link in the chain.
Welcome back. Enjoy your stay in Madison.
Have fun at the game
Thank you
tomorrow.
so much, Mark. Thank you.
Continued success.
Thanks. Can't wait for the game.
We'll be right back with a final check of your weather.
It's the
Summer hangs on.
Yeah, at least for the next couple of days, with temperatures hanging out in the 80s. And tonight, we're already in the 80s and actually close to 90 in some spots. But by the time we get to later tonight, temperatures will fall through the 50s, mostly clear and pleasant. Looking pretty nice for Friday night football. Any weekend plans that you have, and of course for the Badger game tomorrow.
Wear your summer clothes.
Yeah,
it'll be warm at Camp Randall.
All right, Dave, thank you. And coming up Monday here on Live at 4, Dr. Zorba Pastor on preventing falls by older adults. Plus, he'll take your calls.
And film critic Will Loper will be here to tell us what he thinks of the sequel to The Predator. That's coming up Monday on Live at 4.
Live.
Lola and Louie have had another very busy week compiling the best animal stories of this week.
And here they are with this week's edition of Lola's Lowdown. This week on the Lowdown, a kestrel takes a bath.
When goats fly.
And talk about man's best friend.
But first, tomorrow is International Red Panda Day. In timely fashion, the Milwaukee County Zoo released video of a baby red panda that was born there on June 6th. The adorable female cub was just 6 ounces at birth and now weighs about 5 pounds. These animals are endangered, making every birth cause for celebration. These guys are not closely related to giant pandas, and despite their ringed tail, there's no relation to raccoons. They are their own species. If you want to see this sweet girl, she'll be making her public debut in a few weeks.
Here's something you don't see every day: blindfolded mountain goats swinging from a helicopter. But this is a good thing. Hundreds of the goats are being gently removed from Olympic National Park in Washington State to protect natural resources. The goats are being relocated to North Cascades National Park, their original home. It's a tricky business. The job of rounding up and wrangling even a sedated, sharp-horned mountain goat isn't easy. Some of the goats weigh 350 pounds, but they're all treated with kid gloves, even the kids.
Have you ever wondered what a kestrel looks like taking a bath? Well, wonder no more. This is Mito washing himself in an inflatable pool at a place called Elite Falconry in Scotland. It has 56 rescued birds